Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be working on the Havoc Demon Hunter on an AOE build. This build feels amazing. It's a lot of fun to play, lots of AOE. We're going to go over gear, legendaries, best covenant for AOE. We're going to go over talents, and then we're going to go over rotation, and then I'm going to demonstrate the rotation. The really fun thing about this build is it is A tier, tons of AOE, but still does really well with some single target. I've ran this character through the raid on LFR, all of the faded raid, and you know, I understand LFR isn't the most competitive for parse and all this other stuff, but I'm still holding my own, staying on a single target on a boss at a top 10, and I was either number 1 or number 2 on the DPS with the trash pulls, which is what I was really looking at for those AOE effects to see how they were going to work. And yeah, it feels really good. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get to it. So we start out with the gear, and this character's got some muddled gear right now. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that many awesome drops in LFR. This is a brand new Demon Hunter, but I did get some good ones, and I did put my legendaries on there. So we do have a decent eye level at 258. So on this legendary, I went with Fell Bombardment. Emulation aura damage has a chance to grant you a stack of Fell Bombardment, increasing the damage of your next throw glaive that deals to your primary target at 50% and launching an additional glaive at a nearby target. This effect stacks up to 5 times. With this build, you're going to be constantly keeping your Fell aura up as much as you possibly can to get that passive AoE damage, and let it stack up and throw your glaive, because those glaives really do a lot of cleave with their bleeds and everything. So definitely a 1-for-1 there. And then your unity, it's the Elysian Decree, because we'll get into the covenants, but you want to go Kyrian. The Elysian Decree shatters 2 additional lesser soul fragments and grants you blind faith for 20 seconds. For each lesser soul fragment you consume while blind faith is active, you gain 10% fury and 1% versatility up to 20%. And yes, while I'm on this demonstration, I can't use that here because, you know, it's only valid for Shadowlands. The covenant, really simple, guys. You're going to want to go Kyrian so that you can get the Kyrian ability, Elysian Decree. It detonates, dealing 13,813 chaos damage, and shatters up to 3 lesser soul fragments from enemies affected by the sigil, and deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Now, the reason this one's really phenomenal is those soul fragments are going to keep your health up in those middle of those pack pulls, especially for M+. So super strong. Also helps mitigate some health back to you in the middle of raid boss fights if you're actually carrying this build into a raid. Surprisingly, it still did really well in the raid, so I'm really happy with that. That's going to be really that situation. Now, with your stat priority, my stats are a little jarbled because of the gear. You're wanting agility at top, mastery, and crit are equal to each other. Those are going to be literally they fall into your number 2 slot. So instead of saying a 2-3, they're one of the same. So we're just going to say they're in the number 2 slot. 3 is going to be haste. Versatility is going to be your 4th choice, but that's going to be your stat priority. Now let's get into the talents. This build is all AoE. It does have a couple of components for single target, and I'll cover those, but this is hugely for Mythic Plus. You're going to dominate, and it's going to feel really, really good. Your first couple rows are going to be pretty usual, but you're going to go with Unrestrained Fury and increase your maximum fury by 20. You're going to want your Imprison so that you can imprison pack if you're trying to strategically path through a dungeon and not have to pull an unnecessary pack for percentage. So this is really nice to have. It makes you it gives you that extra utility to be more desirable for getting chosen in Mythic Plus if you're pugging and you're not playing with friends. On the second row, over on the Havoc side, you know, you always start out with I-Beam, but on your second row, you're going to pick Demon Blades. This is going to replace Demon's Bite to where it's an auto attack, and it also deals an additional 399 chaos damage and generates 7 to 12 fury for you. So it's one less button you have to worry about pushing while you're in the middle of your rotation. It's really nice. I definitely encourage you to select that over Insatiable Hunger. Bellfire Heart increases the duration of Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame by 2 seconds, which is super strong. Burning Hatred, Immolation Aura generates 60 additional Fury over 12 seconds. Really nice. Fury throws. Throw glaives now cost 25 Fury and throws a second glaive at your target. Extra cleave. It's so good. First Blood. Blade Dance deals 6,454 chaos damage at the first target struck. Don't worry, when we come back down, when we go down farther down the tree, you're going to see where your Blade Dance is going to really come into play again on the last target struck as well, giving you that extra damage. We're going to do a consume magic so that we can consume one beneficial magic effect, removing it from one target. Bouncing glaives, throw a glaive and it ricochets to an additional target. So now that you've got 2 glaives going out, they're going to bounce around for that extra cleave. Improved Disrupt. This increases the range of the Disrupt by 15 yards. We all know as a Demon Hunter, you're bouncing around all over the place with your Blade Dance. You're coming in and out with Fell Rush. So being able to still get those interrupts in to help your team is super important. Don't get me wrong. I know we still have our Chaos Nova, but sometimes you need to interrupt something. You just Fell Rushed. You're trying to get back in there, and your Vengeful Retreat is on cooldown, so you can't get back in to get the interrupt with Chaos Nova. You can still get your interrupt off with your Disrupt. So by having that additional range, so it's really strong. Pursuit Mastery is increased. Mastery increases your movement speed, which is nice. A nice passive. Fellblade, you obviously Fellblade. I mean, Aura Pain's nice, but Fellblade. Charge your target and deal 16. The coolest thing about this one, and you'll see in my rotation too, is you'll hit Immolation Aura, which does a 3,000 damage blast all around in all 360 radius, and then from that point it empowers my Fell Rush. So I'll Fell Rush out and turn right back around and Fellblade back into the fight with so that I'm still getting those stacks off of the Immolation Aura, and it's so good. You'll see. Master of the Glaive. Throw Glaive has 2 charges and snares all enemies hit by 50% for 60 seconds. It's a nice slowdown. Rush of Chaos reduces the cooldown on Metamorphosis by 60 seconds. Need that. You need that, because getting that Metamorphosis back up is so huge, right? It's going to allow you to pretty much get into this. If you can either do one of 2 things. You can either burn through all your CDs, then hit your Metamorphosis in the middle of your boss fight. You won't get usually you won't get Metamorphosis back up to finish that fight. But if you start with Metamorphosis, there are, depending on the fights and how strong your team is on nuking down a boss, there's going to be instances where you'll get your Metamorphosis back up for that additional damage. So this was a strong choice. No matter what kind of rotation you're doing, you definitely want to pick this one up. Initiative. Damaging an enemy before they damage you increases your critical strike chance by 12% for 5 seconds. So that was really strong. Your Chaos Transformation, when you activate Metamorphosis, the cooldowns on Blade Dance, Eye Beam are immediately reset. This is what I was talking about before. I chose this because for me, going into a boss, I want to burn all my CDs first, hit Metamorphosis, get them all back, use them right again, and then I've got those abilities, to continue to go through with the haste buff off of Metamorphosis. So that was my choice. Trail of Ruin. The final flash of Blade Dance inflicts an additional 2,326 chaos damage over 4 seconds. So additional buff on your Bladed Dance. You're going to be using that a buttload. So you really want to make sure that you can empower that in any way that you can. Growing Inferno. Immolation Aura damage is increased by 10% each time it deals damage. So, that one, I still felt like this was a plus, even though it empowers my Fell Rush. So I do Fell Rush out, but I immediately get right back in. So I'm out no longer than a second with my Fellblade bouncing back into the fight. This stacks really nice and it's got good synergy. So it feels really good with it. Looks can kill eye beams, deals guaranteed critical strike. Huge. Now, back on the legendary, there is a legendary you can make that can reset your cooldown and cost no fury for eye beam, but I tried it. I like it. It's good. And a lot of people say it's the meta, but I like my glaive legendary add-on. You're not really going to see that effect here because this is I'm in Orgrimmar, so I'm not going to get those benefits off of it. But when you're running the Shadowlands raid and you're running all the stuff currently, you're going to get those benefits from your current legendaries. Unbound Chaos, activating Emulation Aura increases the damage of your next Fel Rush by 400%. This is what I was talking about. So I'll activate Fel Rush, which does an AOE blast. From there, my next Fel Rush is going to have a 400% increase of damage. So I will Fel Rush, hitting everything with that Aura Blast, with the effects of the AOE Aura and that Fel Rush, Fel Blade back into the fight and go into a Blade Dance. From out of that Blade Dance, I'm going into I-Beam. Once I-Beam's done, I'm dropping another any AOE effect, so Sigil of Flame, and then I'm gonna drop Elysian Decree. From there, I might, just because Vengeful Retreat will throw some damage down, I will Vengeful Retreat out and come back in with the Hunt. And we'll go over that in a second. Burning Wound, Demon Blades and Throw Glaives leave open wounds on your enemies, dealing 2,375 chaos damage over 15 seconds, increasing damage taken by Emulation Aura for 50%. This may be applied up to 3 targets. Rage Fire, each time Emulation Aura deals damage, 35% of the damage dealt by up to 3 critical strikes is gathered up as Rage Fire. When Emulation Aura expires, you explode, dealing all stored Rage Fire damage to nearby enemies. So another great AOE after effect that's passive. You're not doing anything other than just continuing to fight, and you're going to get that additional bonus of damage. Accelerating Blade, throwing your glaives deals 25% increased damage for each enemy hit. Vengeful Retreat has a 5-second reduced cooldown and generates 80 fury over 10 seconds. Soul Rend, throw glaive causes target to take an additional 120% damage dealt as chaos over 6 seconds. Finally, any means necessary. It's passive. Your mastery, demonic presence now also causes your arcane, fire, frost, nature, and shadow damage to be dealt as chaos instead, and increases that damage by 61.3%. Huge AOE buffs all over the place, and keeping your rotation pretty simple so that you can still pay attention to the mechanics of the fight, any interrupts necessary, things like that. Going back over to your standard Demon Hunter points, we wanted to make sure that we got our Chaos Nova back again. This is a strong interrupt, dealing 888 it unleashes an eruption of Fel energy, 888 chaos damage, and stunning all nearby enemies for 2 seconds. Each enemy stunned by Chaos Nova has a 30% chance to generate a lesser soul fragment. Again, nice little passive heal out there for you. Of course, I went with the Chaos Fragments. Each enemy stunned by Chaos Nova has a 30% chance to generate a lesser soul fragment. So between your Elysian Decree and your Chaos Nova, you're getting soul fragments dropped that are going to keep giving you that regen, and it's really, really nice. Soul Rending, leeches increased by 10%, gain an additional 10% leech while Metamorphosis is active, which is really strong. I went with Demonic. I-Beam causes you to enter demonic form for 6 seconds after it finishes dealing its damage. So whenever you come out of that I-Beam, you should be getting your Blade Dance back off CD, going into that, and still consuming your Chaos Strikes or your Throw Glaives to keep putting out that AoE. If you don't have your Sigil of Flame or Elysian Decree up, use that, it's super, super strong. Darkness summons darkness around you for in an 8-yard radius, granting friendly targets a 20% chance to avoid all damage from an attack lasts 8 seconds. So if it's a big AoE damage, you can drop that. It does have a 5-minute cooldown, so it's only going to be a little savings grace. It's kind of treat it like, I guess, your Death Knight's bubble, something like that. At least that's my perception of it. Eternal Struggle increases your mastery by 3.6%. Erratic Felheart, the cooldown of Fel Rush is reduced by 20%. I did put both stacks in that because at first it's 10, now it's 20, so you're getting those back fairly quick. And then Collective Anguish, I-Beam summons an allied Vengeance Demon Hunter who casts Fel Devastation, dealing 6,142 damage over 2 seconds. Dealing damage heals you up to 351 health. So what we've created here is a build. Oh yes, of course, I'm sorry, the Hunt. Charge your target, striking them for 14,964 chaos damage, rooting them in place for 1.5 seconds, and inflicting them with 11,098 chaos damage over 6 seconds, up to 5 enemies in your path. Huge, guys. The Pursuit invigorates your soul, healing you for 25% of the damage you deal to your Hunt target by 30 seconds. For 30 seconds. So what I've done, what this build is essentially done here is you are creating a buttload of AOE damage. You still get some single target damage, but it is profoundly, if you can't tell already, it's huge on the AOE. What we are doing is getting an opportunity to get these lesser soul fragments to drop and any kind of health benefits to kick back to us to keep us going through the fight. It also helps out your friendly healer so that they aren't constantly having to focus on you. They can put more attention to the rest of the team. So really, really strong. Now that we've gone over the build, we are going to start ourselves a fun fight. Okay guys, so this is going to be the rotation. This is the one that I'm using currently. If you see anything wrong with this rotation, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments down below what you're doing different in the rotation or anything like that. Okay, but let's get to it. Oh yeah, I can't use that here. And then burned everything down into metamorphosis. We get all of our fun stuff back up. Going back into anything that I can throw that's going to put down damage. And we are going to rinse and repeat until we are out of it. And then what you're seeing is the genuinely fun build. And as things are coming down off of rotation, throwing our glaives, blade dance, spell blade to get some boost back up, drop that. While that is counting down, we're hitting them, so we're getting that double effect off the sigil and off I-beam back into it. And we're sticking around, and with my current gear level, we're sticking around 15k. I mean, I can only imagine what that's going to look like. I can only imagine what that's going to look like when we're starting to hit those higher numbers. That's my rotation. I open with Emulation Aura, Fell Rush, because it's been procced for that 400% increased damage. I'm Fell Blading back into the fight where I'm going to do a Blade Dance. Then I'm going into I-Beam. While I'm I-Beaming, I'll either drop Flame, Sigil of Flame, or I'll I-Beam, but whichever one is casting, the next one I'm dropping. From that point, my Blade Dance should be coming back off cooldown. I'm going into that, and then from there I'm going to throw glaives because everything else should be in a cooldown situation. I throw those glaives, hit my Fell Blade again to recharge my it recharges my Fury, and I can go back into, if an I-Beam's there, great. If a Blade Dance is there, great. If not, I'm back on Emulation R and I'm rotating. That's gonna be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you see anything that can be improved, let me know in the comments down below. Hit the sub button, hit the like button, drop a comment down. Let me know what you guys think. I will leave the import code on this build in the description. I stream live Tuesday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Twitch. So feel free to stop in and hang out with me anytime you want. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take care. Have a good one.